you ever seen a roo kick? Have you ever seen an emu run under the bright Aussie skies and said this year we'll be the one? Oi, oi, oi! What does it mean to be a part of a footy team? It's more than a game. The footy's in our veins. It's time to go. It's the Northern Footy Show. Get out of our way. We wanna see them play.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to the Northern Footy Show. It has been a monster weekend in footy. That's all I can say about it. It has been insane, and Maddie and I are going to dig really, really deep into this over the next 45 minutes. But before we do that, we're going to take two with Jamie Churchill. We tried very hard the other night with him. I stuffed up the audio, something terrible, so I take full ownership of that. So just welcoming Jamie. Thanks for coming on the show and talking to us tonight, mate.
Thank you. I'm the one on the right. I know it says Jamie under him. That's actually Douglas P. Riot. He's our mascot.
I love it.
The Douglas Park merchandise.
He looks
I did
like
say it had more intelligence than Daz, so it's already started
He
well.
needs a few footy franks, I think.
He looks like he's been waiting for a Carlton premiership, to be honest.
Mate, haven't we all? Haven't we all? I don't want to say anything. I don't want to
Don't jinx us.
No.
Don't jinx us. Now, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on tonight. But more importantly, thank you so much for writing the theme song for the show. For those that don't know, I've known Jamie for quite a long time, and he's actually written and produced himself the whole new theme song. So for those that haven't heard it before we ask Jamie, I'm actually going to play it again, and I'm only going to play the first minute before we get to the trumpets, and then we're going to ask Jamie about it. So here it is.
Have you ever seen a roo kick? Have you ever seen an emu run under the bright Aussie skies and said this year we'll be the one? Oi, oi, oi! What does it mean to be a part of a footy team? It's more than a game. The footy's in our veins. It's time to go. It's the Northern Footy Show. Get out of our way. We wanna see them play.
Now, Jamie, you wrote it for us. We're absolutely ecstatic. You did an outstanding job. It covers everything we're about. And I said to you before we started the show, living in here rent-free is the oi, oi. I love it. I love everything about it. How's everything going for you post? We had an influx of people when it didn't work the other night from the Young Talentine days saying, what happened? I buggered up. You're back. We'll be able to share this as well after into that group. What are you doing now?
I was going to start doing charades or something. No, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm just really happy that you like the song. I wanted to write you an anthem, a footy chant, like the old up there Kazali or something. The job that you guys do, you're filling a hole. There's nothing like it. Local Aussie rules. My old man was a fantastic Aussie rules player, played for North Hobart, played for Manuka in Canberra. I played junior Aussie rules. My son was more of a basketball kid, but we won't speak about that. But it's just fantastic. I'm glad you like it. That's good.
Love it. So what are you doing with yourself now Jamie. Obviously, you started off as a young man in the Young Talent Time team, and only everyone over 35 will understand probably what that is now. And then you had a couple of stints on Neighbours as well, and I know you still love your music. So what are you doing now with music, Jamie? Tell me.
Yeah, so I just I'm a scaffolding supervisor as my day job, but I still play music. This is the studio that I built in the shed, so scaffolding paid for this, so that's all right. But yeah, we're just doing it all ourselves now. We produce our music, we play the occasional gig, and we put some songs up on YouTube. So we just do it for a bit of fun. Douglas Park Riot is we call it Aussie larrikin rock, but we do everything from country music, songs. We've got an Irish sort of jig with a banjo in it, some heavy metal stuff. We got a song on YouTube called Mountain Man, which is
on here for ages.
Yep, it was on here for a long time. Yeah,
it's about all the mountain men that you see, coming down from the mountain to get a new library card or something. You see them around Brunswick and Fitzroy, I'm sure, drinking their lattes with their big beards and their mountainous crossword puzzles. So most of our songs have a bit of a piss take, and it makes you laugh. We don't take ourselves too seriously. So yeah.
And how do we get how do the people watching at home get to have a look at this? Have you got a Facebook page? Have you got a website? Have you got a TikTok? I mean, isn't that the new phase now?
It must be. I don't think I've worked out TikTok yet. That's my wife's thing. I hear her up all night laughing at something. I don't know what it is. Probably photos of me in the bath.
How can everyone get a hold of you?
Hey, we're on YouTube. Yep. We're on Facebook, Douglas Park Riot, at Douglas Park Riot. If anyone wants any merchandise, we've got stubby holders, caps, T-shirts, T-shirt here, Douglas Park Riot. That's our logo.
I got one of those.
The riot has begun. You got one?
I got one of those. You sent it down to me. I love it.
Oh, well, you'd be one of the 3 people that bought one. Thank you, Jack.
I think we might have to put the Northern Footy Show on the other side of one, Daz, and start putting that on.
No, we'll do it. We'll absolutely. We'll get that done. Now, you've got something coming up as well here, Jamie. I'll put it up on the screen. Tell me, what is Gronk Fest for? I see you top of the tree there. It's Douglas Park Riot. So this is when, for our Sydney viewers, where and when is it? Because you live in Sydney now. You said no more to Melbourne. Right. Carlton has
in Erskineville.
So you bug it off.
It's at 642A Kings Bar in Erskineville. Yep. It's on the 3rd of August. Kicks off at 5 p.m. And we've got ourselves, Douglas Park Riot, the FNCs. You can work out what FNC stands for. I'm not going to tell you. The Froth Dogs and Blank Display, a big night of Aussie punk and rock and roll. Gronk Fest 4. It's the 4th in a series of Gronk Fests. So bring yourself down, bring all the Gronks, come and get your Gronk on. There's going to be door prizes, cash prizes. We're going to play Pass the Llama around the room. The game that's sweeping the nation. So, and you could win something amazing. Last time, the major prize was seeing me with my shirt off, but I think we can come up with some better prizes this time.
I think the llama might just give the llama to him.
You want the llama? Hang on, I'll show you the llama.
Show me the llama. Show me the llama. You can't beat one TV. Here it is.
Not an alpaca, man.
So the llama's going to be passed around. You've played Pass the Parcel. You've played Hot Potato. Now it's the next craze that's sweeping the nation. Pass the llama around the room. So come on down to the mosh pit. And for Gronk Fest 4, rock and roll.
We love it. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much for writing the song for us, the theme song, and anything we can do to help you promote what you're doing, we're all for. You're also on Spotify, because I listen to your music on Spotify, so get on, look up Douglas Park Riot, and we'll put a few links here at the end of the show as well, mate. So take care. Thank you again for this, and I hope to catch up with you real soon.
Thanks, Matt Daz. I really appreciate it.
Legend, mate. Have a good one. I think the line was getting a bit skew iffy there, Bonners, as well at the end. And but you know what a legend, what an absolute legend doing that for us. I'm so happy that he did it, and you know it's a great theme song, and it's something we can definitely build on. You know. All right.
Yeah, I think it's great. And you've actually put a nice little glitterati 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1. It was very nice. I thought we're going to the Academy Awards rather than hosting a footy show.
Every day working with you, Bonners, is like going to an Academy Award. That's the only compliment you're getting off me now, Bonners.
Is that just because you have to act pretty well, or
what's that?
Is that just because you have to act really well? So
now, all right, let's get straight into it, Bonners. We deliberately tonight didn't grab any guests, and that is because we wanted to dig deep down and actually talk footy. I think this is only the second time we've done this year, and we've been blessed with guests and people coming on, and we have a couple of big ones coming up over the next few weeks we'll talk about. But I want to jump straight into footy, Bonners, because there was a ton of upsets this weekend. And what I want to do firstly is jump into Division 1. I want to start in Division 1 because the very first game that shows up on my screen that I want to talk is the North Heidelberg West Preston Lakeside game, where West Preston beat the Doggies at the Kennel by 5 points.
Yeah, now, let's talk about the main thing, right? The big boy himself, another 5 goals. So we talk about him every week, but Parker, surely there's either VFL or someone has to take note of this kid. 19-year-olds running around kicking goals, being the focal point. You know, 5 goals against a team that's beaten you by 5 points. I mean, we have to talk a lot about this kid because I just reckon he's got so much potential to go further.
I got a text the other day, and it said, "Mate, you got to speak about someone other than Parker." And my response to it is, "How do I stop? Do you want me to stop speaking about someone that's absolutely dominating the game?"
Yeah.
You know, I'm definitely not going to do that because Parker deserves every bit of, you know, credence that he's getting. Let's move away from him for 5 seconds, though, because West Preston, I said if they had a loss last weekend, they would be out of the race for finals. I didn't think they could make it. They still sit 7th on the ladder with 16 points. They're 2 games off North Heidelberg. It's going to be pretty tough for them to make it even with a win, but I'm still going to leave them in there for one more week, Bonners, because I think they deserve. I think, you know, if you can knock off North Heidelberg, knock off someone else above, it's getting a little shaky in certain areas. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt there. Did you have anything else on that game? You didn't expect that?
I'm one of those people that sit back and go that they're ideally 3 games out because they're 2 games in percentage. So the likelihood of them getting in isn't, you know, you're probably looking at a 10% to 5% chance of getting in. But we'll have a chat about another team in second division doing the same thing. But if you're playing a team, if you're a top, you know, we've got the top 5 or 6 teams, and there's 6 teams really that you look at the list. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, 6 teams that are fighting it out, and you come up against a red hot West Preston, then they're going to shape the 8. If they're going to do nothing else, they're going to shape the top 5. So
I agree with it. I agree with that. And there is still 7 games left, Bonners. There's 7 games.
But you're kind of expecting the other teams to lose 3 and you win every game. So, you know, you kind of have to win every game if you're the equivalent of 3 games behind. So, but it's not to say that they can't. I mean, stranger things have happened. But, yeah, it'd be a really, really, really big upset to see them in the finals. But, you know, stranger things have happened.
Well, they have turned their season around from where it was. You know, they were sort of sitting down the bottom, and they've got their skates on, and I'm really impressed with them. We'll go on to the next game, which is Banyule Hurstbridge. Hurstbridge led for 90% of that game. And, you know, we had the Hursty boys in last weekend. We love what they're doing. But Banyule came out and kicked 22 scoring shots to 14. Yeah. And that's what I know you love about Harrow's guys, that they can kick a score. And that's what they needed to do to win that game. That was impressive by Banyule, mate.
Yeah, well, they're starting to get their groove back. I mean, I spoke to Daiso last night, and he said, look, Hurstbridge probably did have a few players out, but their last quarter was just impeccable, and it felt like they were getting their groove back. It was a tussle all game, but especially at home, they're a very difficult side. But, once again, inaccurate kicking, is this going to cost teams later on? They got away with it this time, but, there's a lot of scoring shots, and to have to wait till the last quarter to win the game, I think, sometimes it might just, I'm a Brisbane supporter. We do that every week. So I think sometimes it you want to make sure it doesn't bite you.
No, I was impressed with Banyul. I actually tipped Hursty. I thought that they'd get the job done as well, but I knew it'd be a close game. I think I had it by a few points, but all credit to Banyul there. Generally, it's a kiss of death on dishing out anyway. So Greensboro, Bundura.
Right, that you've done a kiss of death, so we'll get to that later.
Greensboro, Bundura. Greensy got the job done, but, Bundura super competitive, 16 points. Greensy, obviously starting to get, it back together now, and they need to string a few wins together, to do that. So I was impressed that they got the win, but I was also very impressed that the Bulls were very competitive.
Just a quick one before that. We had the 50th anniversary last night, so a big shout out to Kingy and Nick Curtin and Phil Walker, who organised. It was a great catch up. We had a lot of old players, and I think when you're there, you also see what the club's building again. So I know we've spoken about them in the past, but the passion that's there, they are starting to turn things around. I believe they've been in probably more games than not. So still not quite getting the job done, but getting games into things as well. But I think the game was gone pretty much at halftime. You're 33-3 at halftime. It's a long way back from there. So maybe that's just something that, if you kick 2 or 3 goals, suddenly you're right in the game at halftime. So their second half seemed to be impeccable. So just kind of get that start going.
I have a look at the names in the best. You got Jackson Davies again. You've got Easto in there again. Danny Union. And the birthday boy today, 21 today, Mitchell Antonello.
Yeah, I saw his mum last night, so a big shout out to his mum. Said Bianca wasn't there last night, but said Mitch was roaming around. So, but it's good to see these young kids. I mean, if nothing else comes out of these years, it's these young kids get exposure. I mean, your son was spoken about last night as well. I know you don't like to speak about him, but these are young kids are getting exposed. So, can only be for the betterment of the club and also the competition with these young kids coming through.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Well, a good win for Greensy nonetheless. Eltham, then I'm going to ask you a tough question we haven't even spoken about, Matty, unannounced here, but Eltham got the chocolates by 36 points over McLeod. I'm interested in your opinion here. Now, this was a relegation contest. Yep. Eltham pretty safe, I would have thought, beforehand, but this ensures they're not going to get relegated, okay? What's your take on bringing in, an ex-AFL player in a relegation battle for that game?
You're there? I've got you now. Sorry, I just lost you for a sec.
I said, what's your take on bringing in these marquee players for a relegation battle?
I don't know if it's for the relegation. I think you've got a cut-off time to actually have someone on your list anyway, but I think it's fantastic. I actually think there should be more of it because if it gives nothing else to exposure to the clubs, I mean, if you can get a player of Mitch Robinson's, calories, kicked a couple of goals, he's in the best, there's a chance he might actually play a few more. So I think it's fantastic. I actually think regardless of who you're playing, if you can get it, the other, McLeod had every opportunity. They could have done the same thing as well. So it's not as if it's a one-sided affair. I think it's a fantastic thing for the Northern Footy League and for local clubs in general.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I had a comment coming through last night, maybe from, and I won't say who it was, but it coming through and said, that they were a bit disappointed that, in a game that mattered, it wasn't going to be a fair competition bringing in someone. And he ended up having 216 ranking points. So he had a cracking game. The boy can play. But, I sort of see both sides of it a bit. But I think, as you said, everyone's had fair opportunity. It's a rule that's allowed to happen. So, you probably got to be smart when you use it too, if you can. But, I think it's good exposure, get a good crowd down there. You're playing within the rules. So I have no dramas about that.
There's nothing untoward towards it. It's just that, and there's been AFL players come in and struggle. So, you can't sit there and say, look, it's a definite that they're going to dominate because I think we've seen in many times that they've come down. It's a different standard. They don't know the blokes, but a bloke of Mitch Robinson it's actually a really good get because of just who he is as a player. I mean, he's just and the person he is for a club, I think is fantastic.
The flip side to that is he's a 6-pointer, so they've got to make it work within their numbers.
Correct.
He doesn't
Exactly
come without
right.
he doesn't come without a cost. So
Exactly,
I'm all for that. I wanted to ask you as well. Now I'm just going to the ladder at the same time, Bonners. But obviously McLeod's on the bottom, right? Eltham's safe. Eltham will play Division 1 football next year, and all the credit to Bongo. I'm a huge fan of what he's doing down there, and staying up is a hard battle, as we're all aware now. That Bandura is second last on 8 points, and McLeod on 4 points, but Bundy's got 17 extra percentage points there. Okay, so McLeod has to. It comes down to that last game. Even if McLeod beat Bundy, it'd be pretty hard for him to get off that bottom. But if Bundy can knock off Eltham first, or a West Preston, or a North, or everyone's a bit open to be beaten at the moment as well, that will put the final nail in the coffin for McLeod, I would have thought.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. But as you said, we've balanced it on the first half of the season. Second half of the seasons can be different. Players could be coming back. They might be missing the first half of the year. I actually think that, I know it's a nail in the coffin, but it does make it a lot more difficult. So you're basically 2 games on the bottom of the ladder. So it does make a big game from Bandura McLeod. Bandura Eltham's a big game. Bandura West Preston, Bandura North Heidelberg for Bundy. McLeod West Preston. Every game that they're into, we've seen. Bandura's knocked off West Preston and Monty now. So they've got the potential to do it.
They've got the skill at the top end for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've definitely got the skill at the top end.
And he seems to have him going pretty well. He was very upbeat last night. So, I just think that it's going to be tough for McLeod, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, I agree. Then move to the next one. Let's get over to the Footy Factory. Heidelberg took care of Montmorency, I'd argue, quite well at 28 points and 27 scoring shots, which I know you love the scoring shots. And to 14. They were just realistically in control. There was only 3 points at quarter time, but, it was starting to sneak out a little bit to half time. I think it was out of 14 points, and three-quarter time it was out to 23 points. And, you could progressively see they were building something. It's going to be hard to stop Heidelberg this year. They're really having a dynasty here, they're onto something.
Yeah, and look, I think that's the general consensus that, but as a person growing up playing against teams that thumped us during the year, there's still that grand final win. Until that grand final medal's around your neck, anything's possible. But we see the same person in the best every week, and the one that I've always said that you've got to stop half back, and that's KP. You just keep accumulating possessions. He's the one that dictates from the back half. So in order to he's one of, you've got your Dylan Clarkson, Braden Sears are the ones, going through the middle.
Braden kicked 4 again.
So, but I think that for me, KP's the one that always sets up, and off a half back line. I mean, you look at most teams that are damaging, the half back line's where it all starts.
Yeah, and Monty's still a bit injury hit, and everyone's going to have injuries at this time of the year. The 4 points
is still overseas as well, or
what's that? Yeah, I think they've still got a couple out, and obviously Flynn's out for the rest of the season as well, which is a bit of a kick in the teeth. Now, do you have a picture of KP beside your bed? That's my question for you, Bonners. You bring him up every week.
Because it's a halfback flanker and a halfback flanker. I mean, we've dominated games for years, and it's just nice to see someone up on my caliber. It's just hard. It's been a while since I've seen someone who I can put on my pedestal with me. So that's the reason why. I just see footballers like this that control games, and I think I've said it over and over again. There's a lot of on-ballers. I mean, a lot of teams have great on-ballers. They're solid, they're fit, they're heavy, but the ones that come off halfback, these are the guys that just set something up. Once you get the ball in the back line, you see it in AFL. How many teams say, we build from the back line? How many goals from back half turnover? And that's what Heidelberg do so well. They don't, if you looked at inside 50s, you probably find that other teams get it in there a lot, but they just can't convert. And this is from this big back line. And then the way they propel forward. I know Vinny loves the controlled game, and then as soon as they get an open pitch, bang, they're off. So I just think that, like, watching teams like this, it's always for me that half back line that will always be the attacking part, and he's the number one thing. But he seems to just accumulate touches without anyone really standing next to him. It's the Stewart from Geelong. Once they shut him down, Geelong's on forward forays are a lot harder.
I agree. Let's quickly go to the excuse
me,
me,
division. You're making me nervous.
Oh, no. Well, at this end of the year, we're starting to agree a fraction more. We can stop this. Hey, Bonners, if you want to stop agreeing and you want to start hating me, I have a question for you.
All right.
At what age do men, like when they go out and they're drinking, at what age do you reckon they stop drinking out of straws, Bonners?
Oh, here we go. Jerk has just put that on.
Here's Bonners on his cricket trip.
You know the sad part, what of the whole thing? I actually didn't even realise. I actually took a sip out of it with the straw still in there. I actually just didn't even realise till I took it. So, hey, do you know what? It's the cheapest way to get drunk. It's the cheapest way to get drunk. You drink through a straw, you get drunk quicker.
I tell you what, there's no lack of $50 notes in front of you there, Bonners. You must have been going to roll. All right, let's jump into Division 2. All right, Panton Hill went down to St Mary's by 11 points. Not a no-brainer, but Panton Hill kicked 4-9 to St Mary's 6-8. We know that Panton Hill's season is done. They won't be playing finals. Look, they're another club that can mathematically make it, but I just don't think they do enough with the sides above them to knock one of the other sides out at all. But, again, mathematically you can make it, but I think it's probably up against you. But that was good to be competitive against St Mary's, 11 points. And, you just got to get one or two of those wins above you to make a difference there. I think St Mary's might be just leveling it out. I think they've been a bit like this, and now they might just be, plateauing out a bit and getting ready for the back end of the season.
I think they're the same. I spoke to Plunks last night, and the same thing with a lot of teams. And it still baffles me that, there's guys going away overseas for 6 to 8 weeks in the middle of a footy season. So, and good luck to them. I mean, traveling's a great thing to do when you're young, but I couldn't imagine doing it for 6 to 8 weeks during a footy season. So, back end of this year, I think you'll find they'll start to get a lot of these kids back and, the overseas travellers. And I think by the last 2 or 3 rounds, you'll start to see a more settled side, but they're still knocking over the wins that they should. They're still within the top 8. They've got, 2-3 games, 2.5 games in percentage to work with. So I think your top, from looking at the ladder, your top 4 is pretty much set. Then you've got your Tomos, as you said, you've got your Lowell Plenties, your Panton Hills, your Watsonia, if they get a good run, can still make it. So, and the last team on the bottom, or, you've got your Northcote Parks, they're still another one that could be a smoky.
Well, they can't make it, but let's have a chat about them now because they played Lower Plenty on the weekend, and congratulations to the boys that played their 200 and 350 on the weekend. I did an article about them on Friday afternoon. Before we touch on the game, let me say this. If you've got a player playing a milestone from your club, all you got to do is reach out to me like a spectator did from these clubs. Yep. I got on the phone. I did a quick interview with them on the Friday. Now, that club, Lower Plenty, this will blow your mind, Bonners, had 27,000 views of that article.
That's awesome. It just shows local footy.
It's local footy's huge. And so from that perspective, that shows a lot of interest from those boys, and congratulations to them. But unfortunately, they went down to a very buoyant Northcote Park, who kicked 14-11-95 to Lower Plenty's 4-11-35, and Northcote Park had become a scary side all of a sudden, Bonners.
Yeah, I know you say they're out of contention, but things happen. As you said, you still got 7 games left. They're 2 games behind Thomastown, who are sitting in 5th. So, more than mathematically possible. I mean, they could come with a big run. They've got a lot of their players back. They're starting to find their groove. Once you get a run on in the second half of the year, anything's possible. And if there's a team in second division, I don't care who you are, you don't want to be playing, it's Northcote Park. So they're a dangerous side when they're up and running.
I hope you're right. I'm pretty confident I'm right. So much so,
All
I
right.
might have to don on that pink tutu and wear it in an interview if I'm wrong. But I really hope they do. I'm so happy for them. They got their season together, and they were smashed by injuries early and player turnover. I think 33 senior players that played.
They didn't have a team in the twos one week, so suddenly now they've got a full side to choose from.
And the truth is, we only want what's best for all the sides
Exactly.
there. But I have a look at Lower Plenty now, who are still only 2 points off fifth. I said last week they can't afford to drop anything to people below them because you've actually given a side like Northcote Park a sniff. You know, and that's sometimes all they need. Now, I'd back Northcote Park to beat Panton Hill on the form they're in at the moment, and Panton Hill and Watsonia and Lower all above them. And Thomastown, they're sort of thereabouts, sitting in fifth. So anyway, we'll come back to that. Well done, Northcote Park. Watsonia, Whittlesea easy, 34 points over Watsy as expected. And Watsy, I'm not going to say they'll be happy with that, but they're the premier side. That's what you're up against. I think Ethan Lowe kicked a few again on the weekend.
I saw that,
he's just consistently been a great pickup for them, and they just attract forwards. I don't know how they do it, but what a great result for Whittlesea. And again, they're just hard to tip against, aren't they?
Well, they're the auditor of second division, aren't they? You come up against them, you know where you sit. They don't take the foot off the pedal. They're undefeated. So every time you come up against them, you're going to be the first team to knock them off, though. That's also something that sits in front of you. I mean, growing up, I remember I've seen that. Could we the first team to knock this team off? So people are coming for them, and I think it's good for Whittlesea's run into the finals. These teams want to be the first team to knock them off, but they're well drilled. They're going along well. They're doing what they need to do. But same thing at the end of the season, that's where it counts.
You know what's scary, Bonners, is when one of the stats I looked up the other day, every single person that played for Whittlesea on the weekend is a 1-pointer.
Yeah, well, that just shows that, we'll talk about other teams as well. Keep everyone together, homegrown talent. It makes a difference. The more you play with each other, the more you get that team morale, the more it becomes an actual place to be. We talk about Destination Club with Hurstbridge. Although their players want to go back, and a lot of players are back. This is what it does. So you build a culture, you build a team, and you build a club all in one. That's where success starts.
Jack Taylor kicked 5, so got to mention that. Best on ground. As usual, Xavier Damasi in the best, and Hobbsy and Tennant and Bland. Always the same guys, just absolutely kicking goals. Gary Ramsey, he's just got to be stoked. I mean, how good is it to get Gary Ramsey after you get relegated as your coach? You can't beat that. All right, let's get to Thomastown Morang. Morang did what they had to do as usual, and 17-point winners over Thomastown. I wasn't at the game. I watched a little bit of the replay. Thomastown looked all right. I actually thought they were pretty competitive. So 12-9 to South Morang to 9-10 Thomastown. Even though 17 points is what it was, I just felt like it was, it was a fight the whole game. I reckon it would have been a good slog out, and I reckon Thomastown needed one of those against the top side to have a bit more belief. They sit on 20 points in fifth, and they're 2 games off St Mary's, who sit 28 points in fourth. And the fifth position, as you said, rightly so, Thomastown, Lower Plenty, Panton Hill, Watsonia, and even maybe Northcote Park could punch it out. What a great division. Got to be pretty happy about that.
Well, exactly. You've got your top 3, which I think that we've spoken about. They're the ones to beat. But, I find Thomastown a frustrating team in a way, because such potential against these top sides, and then they'll drop a game and be, well beaten against sides below them. So extra potential there. I mean, we had Olivia on that she spoke about, the team. We've been down, to see the Tomo guys. I just don't. You've just got to give me something every week to show that, that we can be, it's a trustful team to follow through the end of the year.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's going to shape up to be an amazing final series. And finally, for that division, Diamond Creek, 9-8-62, accounted for Lorimer by 16.74-46. Lorimer, fantastic effort to be within 16 points of one of the premier sides. That shows growth and a lot of it. And, I think, I hope like I hope Reservoir get a couple of wins. I really hope Lorimer. They've been so close so many times this season. Could have been considerably different if they had got over the line of 2 or 3 of those as well. But it's still a while to go. You never know. But I feel like Lorimer's close to a win, Bonners.
Well, you've just built every week. I mean, they're getting a great football lesson every single week. Not like as in they're getting thumped, but they're understanding. We spoke with the Hurstbridge guys during the week. The jump to division, it's a bigger jump than people think. It's one of those ones where you do have to do the recruiting. You do have to find those guys who've been in there for a couple of years, but also these young kids getting exposure. Regardless of the road, if they do go down at the end of the year, I mean, you see Whittlesea when they've come down, it's that hunger then to say, well, no, we want to be there again. We want a better opportunity. We want to know what we have to do now. First time up, it's a great result in the fact that they're so competitive. And I truly hope they get 2 or 3 wins at the end of the second half of the season, because what they've put in, these kids keep turning up. They keep putting themselves on the line every week. It'd be great to see them get a few wins.
All right. Well, that rounds off our Division 2 now, Bonners. A couple of things before we get to Division 3, which is absolutely exciting. Ridiculous. I can't wait to talk about it. It is ridiculous. It's a good time to make an announcement that we are going to be back next year, you and I. We're doing it again. We're going early. If Bongo can announce he's back next year, so can we. But we have, you and I have had some good chats, and we couldn't be more committed for season 2025 as the Northern Footy Show.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's blown our minds what it's done with just 2 guys sitting there. We love our footy. It's got me back in the local footy a lot more than I have in the past. We love doing it. I said last night the response was fantastic from everyone. They love it, what it represents and what we're trying to accomplish. More than happy to keep going. And even if it means working with you, I'll still keep doing it.
There has to be some work hazards on it. I want to give you some numbers because we've had a few people reach out and asked how do they get involved in the show with sponsorship next year, and we've locked a few away. It's going to be fantastic. Yep. But so this week alone, we have had 69,000 views of our articles or our videos of the show. And even past shows, which has been fantastic. And year to date, Bonners, we sit at 1.23 million views. And while I get a bit excited about that is because we're a local show. We're only based in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. We're not, we don't look after all of Australia or comment on other leagues. Now, the last thing I want to add to that is there's another show coming, Bonners. It's not, you won't see my ugly head on it, but I reckon I can comfortably announce there's going to be a cricket show this year that we're working pretty tight with the league, and they've embraced it, and I'm grateful for that. And we've got it's going to be, we're going to continue to try and, as a show, get that information out there, which is great. So stay very tuned in for that. All right, now, sorry, mate, going through 2-3 things at once. All right, so now let's talk about Division 3, Bonners. This is why we haven't got guests tonight, because we really want to dig down into this. Holy moly is what I'll say when it comes to that. Now, Mernda went down to Epping by 45 points. Right now, you know that I think Mernda will win the flag. I've been pretty rigid about that week in, week out. And I'm not jumping off them by any stretch of the imagination, but we have said for the last few weeks, Epping doesn't lose to anyone by much. And, they've got Cooper Scott and a couple of other players that have managed to come on before the June 30 deadline. That's a big win for Epping, mate. That's signs of a side that came down from Division 2 that wants to go back there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've done an amazing job. That you had, as we spoke about during the week, Mernda got Nipper back, a couple of others back. So as much as they're finding their feet, from what I understand, it was a tough contest. Epping attacked the game really well. And, I think another one of these sides that we just don't know, do we? They're such that consistent inconsistency. So they have every right to put their hand up and say, look, we can still win the flag. So, it's a big run home, and they're sitting 4th at the moment. So, with a couple of the other results we'll go through, means that they've pushed themselves right up there, and have every chance to push themselves for a flag as well. So they've got a hand on it just as much as anyone.
Shout out to young Joshy Borden, apparently played a cracking game yesterday. And you know what we should do is we should get Maddie and Josh and Steve all on the show together before the end of the season. So Bordeaux, or any of you Bordeaux, if you are watching, I would love to have the three of you come into the studio on a Wednesday night with us and have a chat. But, you know, the regulars, Alfonsi, Latina, Bordeaux, Taylor, Tad, all these guys every week are there and led by skipper Lee Judd. You know, these are big wins for them. Latina kicked 4. They had so many contributors. Racklin kicked 3. But again, there's a club using only 26 of their 48 points. We keep talking about keeping local clubs playing with their local players and loyalty. This is smart footy, 27 points. This club is building, isn't it, for the right time of year?
Well, when you've got points left over, I mean, there's some people who come in and out, but you still can't beat homegrown talent. The ones that play with each other under 19s, they come through the 17s, the 16s, the camaraderie of a football club based upon the teams you play. Like we've spoken about Layla in the past. I mean, you look at all those blokes, they came through the 19s, reserves, seniors. This is what builds football clubs, not just winning teams. This is ones that builds winning cultures and a fantastic club. And I know Epping's such a proud club, played against them, had lots of mates play for all the Epping things and, you know, very passionate supporters standing on the side. So they're just an amazing football club and, you know, well led.
Now, before I finish off on them, Rhonda is definitely our most loyal and passionate supporter. Rhonda, the season's not going to go amiss without you making some sort of special appearance because we need to get you in at some stage and you can do some running commentary with us. So we're going to reach out and thank you so much for your support. It's been amazing. But Bonners, so that drops Mernda to 3rd on the ladder. Now, whilst that doesn't seem overly important right now with, you know, quite a few rounds to go, you don't want to drop too many along the way. Epping sit 4th. They'll have a lot of confidence going into Mernda into a finals campaign as well. Old Paradians are on top. Fitzroy Stars, Mernda, Epping, Ivanhoe. We'll get to Ivanhoe in a minute. But that ladder is tightening up because 7th is Kilmore coming like no tomorrow with 24 points. And you've only got, 12 points separating not even 12, 8 points separating 7th and 2nd.
Yep, it's pretty good. And I'm looking at the ladder as well, that Fitzroy Stars have marked off their second bye as well. So that puts them in a great position. They're the one first to knock it off. So other teams do actually have to, you know, have their bye. So you want to bank the wins when you can. But as we talk about Mernda dropping, but let's not take it away from Epping for this week. I think that these guys are building. And they are. We saw them when they played Laylaw. They're a good outfit. They're a good young outfit. They love to run. They're strong at the contest. So, as I said, they're just as much into it up to their neck as everyone else.
I reckon there was a bit of heat in this game as well. It was the Paddy Chow Cup.
I heard that.
So there's always a bit of heat in the game. All right, let's move over to the OPs, who you love. The OPs versus Heidelberg West. They did it easy, 14-11, 95 to Heidelberg West, 3-7, 25, 70 points. Old Paradians, another statement made.
Yep, fantastic. My old school. I love clubs. You know, we're all bound to clubs that we used to play for. I had a few games in the VAFA with the Old Paradians. I love the place. Benny Turner's got them ticking on well. I saw them play against the red-hot Fitzroy Stars. They've dropped a couple they probably wouldn't like to, but they're just building beautifully and really are one for me. One of the, as I said, you've got yours, but one of the top 2 for me that are going to be the team to beat at the right end of the season. First year in the competition as well. I mean, you just have to tip your hat to that. You know, come into a new comp, different type of football. They've already said that. It took them a while to get used to it, I think, but I think they've got their gears grinding beautifully.
I'm absolutely confused, is the truth, Bonners, on who to tip each week in Division 3. It's, mate, I just can't work it out, and that's great. That's a good sign of a good competition when you can't work it out, you know. So, you know, hats off. It's a really good league. Well done to Old Paradians. It's a massive win. For me, you know, look, you know, unfortunately that ends Heidelberg West's chance of playing finals for me.
Yep.
They're on 16 points. Look, they're only, eight. They're only 2 games currently, or 3 games out of 5, but that's too far for them, and they can't beat the sides above them that are in that 5, for my opinion. And they can put some ticks next to things this year that they're on their way up, and with some great kids like Brownie and so forth coming through. And I think that's amazing.
But what you have to look at this time of the year is, we've got them at 4 wins, and they've got to realistically win 7 to make the top 5. So you sit there and go, we're not saying that they're not capable of it, but the probability, you look at numbers, we're a numbers type of game to try and get into finals, and the finals say that you've got to win 7 and the other team's got to lose, win no more than 3.
Yeah.
So it's a big ask.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I think you and I speak about regularly about sides and what they're going to do, and I wrote that article a couple of weeks. If you know your season's done and dusted, you need to start locking some of those guys away and start talking about your plan for next year. I actually, I had a friend of mine reach out to me the other day and said, mate, any chance you can give me a hand to lock in some players at a club? We want to put something together to start locking guys away. And I've said no, because I'm not going to align with clubs sort of helping. Right. That's just ethically not right. And that's the only reason I said no. But, you don't need me to help you. You need to have your strategy and your plans. And, generally every club's got some good business people around in it. You need to start locking these guys away now. I can't emphasize that, because they'll be gone before you blink. Look, I don't want to point out too many guys, but young Max Brown's had a great season. He's coming on at 100 miles an hour. His dad was obviously a very, very good footballer. People are going to be looking at this kid, and if he's loving it at West, sign and stay. And if he's looking to advance his career and go up a division, you get that as well. Never begrudge anyone that's going up to better themselves. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but lock them away. Ivanhoe Reservoir.
Sorry, but before you say it, but also to start to look around. I mean, this is a time of year that I know clubs look at VFL. I know they look at other leagues. It's time to have someone to sit there and go, we talk about fringe players in Divi 2 fringe players. Well, they're the ones you kind of look at. They've already been in Division 2. They understand it. Coming down into Divi 3 gives them an opportunity to play and get a team back into Divi 2. So I've always said recruiting is the one thing that's crucial when you go into a new to contest every year. It's got to be the starting point when you get to this time of year. If you're confident that you could still make finals, but you still have to look for next year.
I totally agree. I'm not saying start poaching players. Taylor said to us the other day he won't approach opposition players in season, and I respect that. That's a very noble thing to do. But there's no reason.
Names, though. You can still have names. You can still have a list, though. You don't have to go after them now and
take care of what you got.
Know what you need, put a few names to everywhere you want to lead, because the realistic things, you might only get 2 or 3 of them. But, 2 or 3 would make a massive difference to Heidelberg West. That could put them from, where they sit now to contending to the top 2 or 3, 4. So this is what the lower teams have to say. How are we going to bridge the gap between us and the top sides?
Let's keep pressing ahead. We're 48 minutes in. Reservoir nearly got the chocolates over Ivanhoe, but Ivanhoe 10-13, 73, beat Reservoir 9-12, 66. I'm going to tip my hat 100% to Reservoir, because I thought it would be a hammering, and nothing would make me happier than to see Reservoir get a win or 2 before the season's over. It's hard when you're slogging it out on the bottom week in, week out, and they're the things that make players come back next year and so forth. Good on Ivanhoe for getting the win. I reckon they'll go back and have a look. Where did they go right? Where did they go wrong? And the truth is, the pressure probably just came fantastically from Reservoir, and well done.
Yeah, absolutely. They might have your picture up on the wall every time you start to say teams are going to get flogged by 100. They come up and have a good go. So I reckon you're a really good motivator. But I think it's fantastic. I love seeing these, Reservoirs, Laylaws, these type of teams that are still coming up. I want them to be competitive. I want them to be excited. I want them to push every week and, push the teams, find out where you're at, and then know the next time you play them, you can push a little bit harder. So, I think it's fantastic. And, Reservoir would be feeling good that's, not feeling good in the fact that they've lost, but they've put up a performance like that shows them that other teams are still vulnerable.
Very famous name played for Reservoir on the weekend. Who was it, Bonners? The son of an AFL gun.
I don't know. Who is it?
That would be Jamie Koutafidis.
Really? There you go. Wasn't he at Laylaw? What's going on?
No, he wasn't. I'd probably get dehomed for that. But I do want to take this chance. The best players for Reservoir, according to Player HQ, were Tom Dunn, Rob Holland, Stephen Smith, Jack Craig Smith, Mark Ferraro, and Nicholas. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I think Miliaris. Guys, fantastic job. I honestly want nothing more than to see you guys get a couple of wins. I know it's hard at the moment. My advice to you is just keep punching. It will come, and it'll be absolutely worth it. Now, rare do you get a free kick from this man. He's one of your old foes giving out free kicks. Now I'm concerned here. Paul King has come out and said, well done, King Lake, yesterday. Let's talk about King Lake for 1 second. They got the chocolates.
Who's the best? Did you see who's in the best, though?
He must have a hangover this morning, Kingy, because he doesn't give out compliments too often to opposition. He's a Bundy boy through and through. But no, you walk me through it, mate. You take me through the game. 5-point win to King Lake.
Yeah, it's a good result. Young Rowan King, or probably older Rowan King now. So no doubt Paulie be looking over that with a very, very keen eye. But another thing exactly the same. You take your 5-point win. I mean, this is the old Eltham. You haven't just strolled in and taken a lower scalp. This is old Eltham who are well and truly contending for finals. So fantastic win. At Old Eltham too, I understand. So it was a fantastic win, and I hope this starts to really build belief in the second half of the year. We talk about the lower sides. We love seeing this happen. We love seeing those sides that have only had the 2-3 wins come up against great opposition and show them that they still are well and truly competitive.
Yep, and well done to Damien Pywell kicking 4 goals as well for King Lake. You need to kick goals. I mean, I know it's an old cliche, but you need to kick goals to win, using one of your words, but you have to do it, and they did it, and that's a good one to get their confidence back up. They might look back as a season of what could have been as well, because I thought King Lake would play finals this year, but we don't know the ins and the outs of who's available, not available every week, but old collegians. That's a bit of a hard one for them to swallow, because they have been on a bit of a spiral. That throws them down to 6th on the ladder. They've gone from top and undefeated to dropping quite a few.
Vulnerable too. Very vulnerable right now too. Yeah. So,
they're vulnerable with sides sitting on the outside like Kilmore, who have hit form. They're going to finish on Kilmore.
Just starting to bite at the heels of the top 5, and can really do some damage coming in the second half of the year.
Let's talk very quickly then about Kilmore. So they've come out and said, bang, 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 18, 14, 122, have said to Laylaw, 4-2, 26. Thank you, guys, but you got one up us last time. You're not doing it again, Lance and Shane. I'm going to give you some of your own medicine back here, but, well done to Kilmore. They have seriously got their together, Bonners.
Yeah, and look, I think like a lot of these lower sides, we've lauded Laylaw all year, and you're going to get peaks and troughs. But Kilmore did the job. They really put him to the sword, and it says a lot about Kilmore. But also, it shows that these young Laylaw sides still have a lot to learn. But you've got to beat the teams well. It wasn't the greatest conditions on the weekend either, so that's a massive win. And really does, percentage may be the thing that gets you in finals this year. So when you get the opportunity to put a team to the sword, you really have to do it.
Well done to the Barton boys as well. Both the best, Chris and Ben, and Coey again. Coey just on fire. I said earlier in the year, recruit of the year. He's you've got to get on the show, Coey. Next time I see you, I'm going to punch you in the nose if you don't commit to coming on the show really quickly. So what does that do for the ladder here, Bonners? Let's have a quick look at this for 1 second.
Yeah, this is the most open from 1st to 6th, 7th. It's 1, 2, 3 games. That's the difference. So there's just there's just no respite. This second half of the year, we love 1st and 2nd division, but for general consensus of competition, mate, Divi 3 you just got yourself licking your lips. I know on the weekends, if I can't get there, I'm just checking the halftime scores. I'm seeing where they're at. So the next few weeks, I really want to start to get to more of these third divvy games and start to see it all pan out.
I'm just pretty impressed with this ladder because, as you say, 1 through 7, 3 games separates them, but the percentages is only like 15 points separating top and 7th. This is going to be one hell of. We called this earlier in the year, pre-season, Bonners. The amount of talent going through there, it's going to be the hardest flag. You win this flag, you should be right up there for a bit. Now, we have a couple of special guests Wednesday, Bonners. We've got Deacon Kalpakis and Josh Dintasante coming in, both playing VFL at the moment at Coburg, and they belong to South Morang as their choice club, and they will arrive back there at exactly the right time. So if you're not scared in Division 2, that might shake a few boots up. But they're coming in and they're going to spend some time with us. And the reason I invited them on, Bonners, is because a lot of kids are aspiring to play VFL. We've talked about our future stars at the moment, 16-year-olds playing all the way up to 20, and they're all aspiring for VFL, and we get a lot of questions about it. So the boys are coming on, and, they're both fantastic fellas, and they're going to share some questions. And if you've got any questions as a young bloke about how do you get to the VFL, how did they get their opportunity, Wednesday night is absolutely the chance to do that. That's going to be a huge show on Wednesday night, Bonners.
Yeah, I might have to do my Preston boys lost the Battle of Bell Street. I might have to bring one out and see if I can actually get a little bit back on the Coburg boys. But it's fantastic. We're talking, we talk about first division teams wanting to play VFL. I mean, these are kids in second division. South Morang are still going well without them. But geez, imagine those two coming back at the second half of the year, coming into a final series. You just got to be licking your lips if you're South Morang.
Now, a little bit of a precursor to my article tomorrow. It is, and I'm open to a lot of feedback, but the title rotates around, could anyone in Division 2, we talked about, would Heidelberg compete at VFL? Tomorrow in my article, I'm talking about who in Division 2 would compete well in Division 1. Okay, so we'll get on with that and encourage a lot of feedback. Bonners, that's our show. We're 56 minutes in. We're going to stay under that hour. We could have talked all night about footy, and I'm glad we did that tonight because it's good to dig down in those sides. Until Wednesday night, Bonners, and the girls are on tomorrow night. I've just had someone ask to come on the show, so I invited them on the show. They've confirmed they're going to come on with the girls. So until next week, mate, let's just keep kicking goals.
Indeed we shall.
See you, buddy.
See ya.